It's more misery for the Reds following a harrowing draw away at Fulham, and we're going to be talking about the identity crisis suffered by Slot's team at the moment. But then we'll end the debate today with a view from Arsenal fan Matt Smith. No relation of mine, I can assure you that, but he's going to give us his take on what's going on with the Reds, and then a bit about the game upcoming on Thursday. But without further ado, Fulham 2, Liverpool 2. A bitterly disappointing result made worse by a bitterly frustrating performance. Tom, apart from not losing the game, are there any positives you can take away?
Harrison Reed's goal was nice. No, I jest.
Good on the eye, wasn't it?
Obviously, it's nice for Verts to get a goal. I think you see in the moments thereafter what a confidence player he is. I didn't think he was particularly great first half, bordering on poor, to be honest. And then after his goal, slid through ball, and it just looked as though he's going to be a player that we're going to see. Becomes a cliche, I know, but a confidence player. Beyond that, hard to say, mate. I mean, obviously it was a nice few minutes, wasn't it, where we thought we'd snatched 3 points away from home. What do you reckon?
Not a lot for me. Not a lot of positivity. I mean, I see what you're saying about the Verts goal, but I think I was firstly very surprised it was given. And I think it really masked a poor performance from him. And in fairness, since we did our last podcast where we were talking about how he's really improved in form, I know he's had a few cramp issues and maybe a slight hamstring scare, but his performance against Fulham was pretty poor. And I thought his performance the week before was also pretty poor. So it feels almost like he was on the cusp of turning things round. And to be fair, he has scored a couple of goals now. But I felt the goal masked a really underwhelming performance from him, where he was basically missing for most of the game. And he showed all the characteristics of the things that we saw early in the season in terms of weak on and off the ball, didn't really get involved. For me, I guess the only positives are probably Connor Bradley being back. I thought he was quite solid.
Yeah, he was probably our best performer.
Yeah, and I thought Curtis Jones was the pick of the midfielders again.
Yeah, a fair summary. I agree with Bradley and Jones. I do have a slight concern with it. I agree Jones played well. What do you think? This popped into my head earlier, though. What do you think to this? Curtis Jones, I know we touched on him in more detail in a previous episode. It feels as though his strong performances correlate when we're not playing very well. Almost in the opposite way to what we're saying about McAllister. When McAllister's playing well, we're going to win. We're winning for games of football. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but it just feels as though Jones's patches of form have inversely correlated with our form overall. Hard to say, but yeah, I do think Jones was quite good yesterday. In a pretty poor performance. Back to your Verts point though, because you mentioned our identity. It doesn't feel like Slot knows how to use him. This is clearly a talented footballer. He's so talented. And there's a video going around of our build-up shape. And I know it's just an 8-second video or whatever, but it's like watching that on repeat every time we get the ball and build from the back. Just circulating the ball up to our full-back from the keeper, centre-back, full-back, up the line, across the face of the goal, back, repeat. Do you not think that clips Verts' wings a little bit? He needs runners. I was surprised to see Frimpong come on at the same time as he went off, put it that way.
You're absolutely right there. And I think that there's two aspects of that. One is that the shape that we started with, without Ekitike, obviously not in the squad at all, it had the hallmarks of that straight from the off, wasn't it? Gakpo's not that kind of player. You've got no pace on the wing. Soboslai sort of coming inside and getting in his way almost. And it's interesting because you look at Rio and Gamoa on the bench, and we purposely didn't sign a Diaz replacement to not block him.
It's crazy.
How is he not starting in that game? He's crying out for pace and wings. If Frimpong's not fit enough to start, I get that completely. But we needed something a little bit different on the other wing. And to add to your point there about the Verts formation, the other sort of big negative that I take away from this yet again is probably McAllister, who I thought was dreadful. Like really off the pace, couldn't get in the game, offered nothing really defensively and nothing attacking wise either. So I'm not blaming Wirtz in any way, but what I mean is that if he is going to be a confidence player, that I'm sorry, but that is not good enough for 116 million. He needs to be someone who's going to fucking control games and win them for us, not just sort of when it's going well, he'll have 10 games where he's unreal and then he'll be shit for another. Consistency is one of the key things that sets like top level players apart from your Spurs level players.
Yeah.
When I say that, I'll come at me, Spurs fans, but you know what I mean by that.
100%, mate. But Wirtz is the sort of player, much like your David Silvas of this world. They do need great players around them. And obviously the squad is filled with great players around him. But as you mentioned, the team selection, again, Slot's options were limited. I'll give him that. But there was such little pace in it. I think we were texting each other during or before the game just about the lineup. It's one of the slowest overall lineups we fielded. Certainly in attacking positions. I know Bradley and Kirkes can both move. But yeah, he didn't have much going on ahead of him.
I think that's a slightly separate point because you're right that Slot can only pick what he's got available. But you seem to be saying this every week at the moment. But given what we've spent, how on earth are we putting that team out? Like, I really do think that someone needs to be in serious trouble here. Richard Hughes, whoever it is who's put the squad together, has not done a good job of squad building. And again, like talking about the identity piece, there's no pace, there's no goal, there's no intensity. How? I mean, it's just such a far cry away from the intense but controlled version of what Slot talked about last season.
Yeah,
and he was all intensity and aggression with greater elements of control. But how have we gone from that? So, like, I'm not having it that Slot's going out there and saying, be negative, don't create anything. I just don't believe that. But then again,
are you not though? Because in the same breath, yeah, because obviously we're on this 7-game unbeaten run now. Again, you look at the sides that we played against.
The worst unbeaten run in history.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a depressing unbeaten run. But it does feel like since the sort of big Salah dropping incident, which I think Slot's incorrectly scapegoated Mo a little bit with that. It's obviously a bigger discussion point, but it does look as though we're being a bit more patient in our build-up, which is leading to this slow, almost like turgid build-up. It's painful to watch. Like, I was fucking bored out of my mind watching the Leeds game. Picked up this heavy cold halfway through the game, just feeling myself getting ill, watching that shower of shit and just thinking, how have we become this? It's the lack of intensity, as you say, but it does feel pre-programmed in the recent weeks, if you ask me. It feels very much as though we're in the don't lose mode, which is, obviously it's included games against like 9-man Tottenham, and the mathematically worst Wolves. Sorry, the Wolves side that were at that point mathematically the worst team in Prem history. But yeah, did you see that McAllister quote as well? Back to your point about McAllister, whose legs look gone. Do you see he was asked about how he struggled to maintain momentum? I'll read it for those who haven't heard it, but he said, many things changed, as I said. New players came in to replace those who left. We changed too many things, but I prefer to keep it to myself. It's one of those you read and you're like, is that real? As he said,
I don't like that at all. I don't like it at all. And similar to why I didn't like the Mo thing, if he was playing well, fine. I can kind of get it that, he's unhappy, he's frustrated. But he's been shit.
Yeah, someone on Twitter was...
Focus on your own performances, Macca. Like, I get that a lot has changed, but Jesus Christ, we haven't changed that much. He's still playing with Gravenberch. He's still playing with Curtis Jones. His midfield partnerships are exactly the same. Yeah, that's it. It's the South Americans that all did.
Yeah.
Soldier powers you had barbecues with. Have you seen that advert, by the way, that he's been doing about the barbecues?
Funny, isn't it? Yeah, I do love him, despite the performances. I do love him, and I do see him regaining form. But it's interesting how representative Diaz and Nunez are of this period of change, because we've had Salah reference them. We've had Alexis probably referencing them with what he's talking about here. And we're getting lots of videos circulating around our intensity, like videos circulating on the internet of our pressing, quotes about how we've spent more time walking than the opposition for the last 11 games or something like that. And you just think, two lads who didn't walk, it was Diaz and Nunez. And as you know, like, we weren't recording these for a period last season, but had we been, you would have heard my frustrations with Diaz and Nunez for sure as footballers. But one thing they gave you was they ran you into the ground, and yeah, we seem to lack that. But I think again, without meaning to turn this back into a transfer committee versus Brendan Rodgers debate, I think I lie more on the slot being accountable than you do. I think you're more on the side of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards needing to be accountable. And I see both
No,
arguments.
I'm not. Go on, you go. Go on, finish what
I
you're
was
saying.
just going to say I see both arguments, but I think if we break down every player, I get your point about the broad recruitment, but I think if we break down every player, I rate every signing. And I probably would. I know you have to think of things collectively and squad holes and so on, but I don't know. At the back end of the window, I think all Liverpool fans were reflecting on it as a solid window. And I still kind of do reflect on it as a solid window in terms of the quality that we brought in.
Yeah, but I would counter that and say that Ekitike aside, none of the players that we were happy with, because I was happy with it as well, but none of the players, apart from Ekitike, have performed anywhere near the level of what they were pre-purchase.
Yeah, valid. But yeah. Do you
like,
attribute that to how
that's the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, possibly, but a lot of it is also injury. So, obviously, we've bought Isak. He's shown, 10% of what he's capable of, if that. Frimpong, he played his third or fourth Premier League game for us for the weekend as a sub. Kirke's taken ages to get into any sort of form, and then has been poor again for the last 2 weeks. So yes, I was happy with the signings, but every single one of them has struggled to make that step up to the big squad, the bigger team. Apart from Ekitike, who obviously he's gone probably the other way, where he's overperformed compared to what expectations were.
He was probably the one out of the lot of them that you could have thought might be a bit of a free hit type signing. Doesn't matter as much if he doesn't work, and ironically, he's been the best. Yeah, no, obviously, I see your point. I think we're seeing more of the Frimpong that we were hoping to get in recent weeks. I thought Frimpong, probably should have added him to my list of positives from the game. I thought Frimpong was quietly impressive again. And again, it's that dynamism and willingness to take someone on one-on-one.
I've got big issues with Frimpong in that position, though, and I have. And again, it's nothing against him as a player, because I think he's a really good option, and his pace is obviously scary for anyone. But he is not a replacement for Mohamed Salah. He's not an inside forward. He's not going to get enough goals ever, and he's probably not going to get enough assists either.
No, I'm with you.
He's dangerous and he can cross, but he's the wrong profile of player for that position that should be playing for Liverpool.
No, I get you, mate. I get you. I think as football fans, and I don't mean you necessarily with this, but I think as football fans, we get a little bit hung up on first 11 football and viewing things like that. So I realise how this comes across. But I think if you have Frimpong in a sort of, let's say, ideal lineup in a front three, and your other two are Isak and Ekitike, you can understand the balance. But exactly as you say, if your front three are him, Chiesa down the middle, and Gakpo on the left, which it ended up as, then how many goals is there in a season?
Yeah, it's absolutely vile.
Yeah. So I agree with you. It's some drop off if you're going from Mo Salah to him as your first choice right winger, but I don't really see a world in which he ever is. But yeah, shall we? Any closing thoughts on? Let's go to the last two, because we haven't touched on Leeds. It was Leeds. Any closing thoughts? Leeds and Fulham.
Again, just an awful performance. And that's the most worrying thing. We said it in the last episode that the form is not form in its truest sense, because we haven't played well. It's results rather than form. But I would say, I think, just to wrap up my thoughts on this, so football is a very fickle place, and we've all been guilty for it. And when we were shipping goals, everyone was calling for Slot to be more defensive. He's done that, and we have stopped the rut, and ultimately we're fourth. So there is, whatever you think of Slot and our performances, the league is bad enough for us still to be clear fourth at the moment. So there's all to play for. But the bottom line is, we can't, like, what would everyone rather, us be entertaining and ship 3 goals a game as we were before, or play grim football to watch but get points on the board? And what's more important at the moment? For me, it's points on the board, and I'm saying that like with really bated breath, because obviously what we've built over the last 10 years under Klopp is all about entertaining, intense, attacking football. But we don't have the luxury of doing that. We'll end up as a Roy Hodgson type team if we carried on, if we had have carried on as we were, which is ridiculous to say given the amount of talent we've got in the squad. But I would rather come fourth playing shit football where we can address it and do better next year than come sixth but playing entertaining football.
Yeah, no, obviously the last point, I completely agree. But my mind, when you say address it, goes to address the manager situation. And it's interesting.
And maybe we will. Maybe we will. Yeah.
Because obviously,
I think he'll last until the end of the season, but I'm not convinced that he'll be manager next year.
Yeah. Obviously, there's quite a few teams going to be looking for a new manager in the summer, and the manager pool's quite limited. But no, it's been back to the whole sort of like all points are equal. It doesn't feel that way when you're picking up these points against teams that you should be beating. Leeds at home, much more so than Fulham away. Leeds at home, who rested players, I hasten to add.
Yeah, that was painful.
Yeah, really, really painful.
But then you could argue that both of those games could have been a very different story. You know, we weren't outplayed in either of them. We should have, like, regardless of the performance, given that Gakpo scored in the 94th minute, the game should be won and we'd be right up Aston Villa's arse. Leeds game, I would say similar. The game should have been won. I know Dominic Calvert-Lewin had the goal disallowed at the end, but we should have had a penalty, I think.
Mate, that was a stone wall penalty.
Yeah.
There were like several chunks of the move at which it should have been a penalty when Ekatike's getting pulled. I mean, you sort of, that encapsulates why footballers go down.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all ifs and buts. But if you get a scrappy away win and then obviously at Fulham and then a home win against Leeds, league table looks great.
Yeah,
and of course it masks the performances, but we're not very good at the moment. I think everyone's forgetting. Like I'm sure everyone's not forgetting that, but like we definitely shouldn't be forgetting that it was not that long ago that we were getting hammered 3-0 by Forest and genuinely outplayed as well. Like it wasn't just the result; we were getting completely played. PSV also battered us. You know, it wasn't a one-off.
It makes you realise, doesn't it, how different title challenge is to going for the top 4. Like you draw against Leeds and Fulham back to back, and you're in a title challenge. It's like, oh, that's done.
Yeah,
with some of the historical Guardiolas and potentially with the points tally Arsenal are going to get this season, you know. But yeah, in 4th, it'll going for the top 4 at least. Teams around you lose every weekend as well. Yeah. Talking of titles, then, mate, should we bring in the Arsenal fan?
Let's bring on the tattered disciple. Yeah.
Matt Smith, come to give the Arsenal perspective. Matt, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Tom. Very well, very well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. The first place to turn, Matt, to ask you are the rumours true? Did you walk down the aisle to the Champions League theme tune?
I did indeed. So thankfully, it wasn't with someone pressing, going a little on a speaker. It was to a string quartet that my wife's mum knew. Made it. It's very nice.
Fantastic.
It didn't bring us any luck, though. I was sort of hoping that would be the turning point in our Champions League expeditions. But no.
Oh, mate. Well, listen. Maybe you'll have to get them back this season. Who knows? But we'll come to it. But should we start with the Arsenal overview then, Matt? Obviously, you're having a pretty good season, aren't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's going well. It's going well. It's going well, 6 points clear of City now after the big man Callum McFarlane came through for us the other day. I think, yeah, we're in a strong position, and we started to actually look good recently too, as well, right? Like, we were top of the league before, and it's always tough when you've got players missing through injuries. You guys all know, you never quite know. Is it just those players missing, and so you don't look as good? But when we continue to pick up results, we kind of went through a stage where we had our attack out, a lot of our attackers out. And then we had a stage where we had Gabriel and Saliba both out at the same time, which is when, you drop points to Chelsea, you lose away at Villa. But now they've kind of come back in. We got the attack and the defence working. So, yeah, we're looking good, touch wood, at the moment.
Is this the bit you've had a 7-point margin in 2023, didn't you? Or was this the biggest margin you've had on level points?
No, we had a 7-point margin in 23, but that was a team that was nowhere near ready to win the Premier League. That was a team that played really well for the first 13, 15 games of the season in particular, until Jesus got injured, but there was nothing beneath that. I mean, when you're having to start Nketiah for kind of 10, 15 games, right? We ended the season, we got Saliba injured and Tomiyasu injured, and we had to play Rob Holding in the run-in. Now, Rob Holding we sold to Crystal Palace for £1 million, and he did not even make their bench. And I think he's in the MLS now.
Great hair transplant.
So that team was nowhere near ready to win it. We're in a very, very different place now.
Yeah, fair. I think Rob Holding actually played at Anfield when we drew 2-2. Could be wrong there, but
yeah, and you should have won that. We went 2 up, I think, and that's when I thought, we could still win this, even with Rob Holding there. But Ramsdale made some great saves. You deserved to win that day, frankly.
Yeah, Canate missed one off the line. One of mine and Chris's mates from home was up from Portsmouth for that game, and he said to me, we were 2-0 down at half time. He was like, if they scored 3, mate, I'm going back to Portsmouth before the final whistle. but yeah. So Chris Smith, what are your thoughts on Arsenal this season?
So, well, I guess my question to you about Arsenal is this Arsenal team a particularly good one, or is the league just a poor one? Because one of the things that we've been talking about in the episode is Liverpool obviously are 4th, and this is the worst team, the worst run we've had in a long, long time, the worst set of results from a form perspective since 1950 odd, and yet we're 4th. So is the league just poor, and Arsenal, this is their time to sort of capitalise, or is this actually a top level title winning team, would you say?
So probably a couple of elements to that, right? I think the league has weak points. Like, I think the sort of 5th, 6th, maybe 4th place teams are pretty weak. But I think the league's pretty strong down to like 17th. If you look at kind of maybe 16th with Leeds, right? If you look at kind of Leeds, Bournemouth, teams down there, I think they're probably some of the strongest we've seen. See teams like Palace in the bottom half of the league. I think actually there's a lot more parity in the Premier League this year. And then you look at the Champions League, see Arsenal top of that Champions League group league stage at the moment, like Liverpool were last year. But I think until last weekend, Newcastle were higher in the Champions League table than they were in the Premier League table, which kind of shows, I think actually what's happened is there's been a real improvement in the quality of those teams. You're not your traditional kind of big 6 teams. Those teams kind of 7th to 12th that you would usually say have really improved. Getting coaches like Glasner in from Frankfurt at Palace, and Iraola at Bournemouth as an example. In terms of Arsenal, I think we're kind of what we've been for now the last 3 seasons, which is a very good team. Like 23-24, we ended the season with 16 wins, a draw and a loss, and lost the title to City by 2 points. And this team is basically that team with a lot more depth. Like, there are some moving parts in and out. Like, Jorginho's gone, we got Zubimendi starter. Kivior gone. At left back, we got Calafiori in. And then, well, we played Gyökeres, but I'd probably still have Havertz as our starter. So I think we've been a very, very good team for a while now. Last year, honestly, I'd probably put the fact that we dropped off down to the fact that Saka was injured for half the season. Yeah. But honestly, I think we're a very good team. I don't think we're like the elite level of team that, say, City were when they did the treble, or that Liverpool were back when you won the league. Not yet. Maybe we'll prove it towards the end of this season. I think we're a very good team. I think we're the best team in the league. I won't say we're like elite yet. We need to prove it first.
Yeah, that's a good
humble
summary, I
Arsenal
think.
fan. Where did we find a humble Arsenal fan from, Smith? We had the pickings of quite a few.
Yeah, that was completely disappointing, actually. Yeah.
We were hoping for more delusion from you, Matt. Yeah, no, it's hard to disagree. Arsenal are really impressive. To be fair, I don't know how many of these you've listened to in advance of this show, but we like to goad Arsenal fans, but we also do respect them as a football team. They are. I think you are the best team in the country this season, and whether it's bet hedging or not, it's felt like pre-season I predicted you to win the league the last 2 seasons at least. I think you will actually do it this season, though.
I think we will this year. I think we will. I mean, I don't know. I guess I thought we'd win the league when we lost to Anfield still, right? So, I pretty consistently said this throughout the course of the year. I thought we'd win the league. I think we got that strength and depth now. And to be honest, at the start of the year, I said, I thought there were 3 really good teams, yourselves, Arsenal and City, and whichever stayed injury free or had the fewest injuries would probably win the league. Now, I think you guys are probably a little bit below that, a lot to do with just how much you changed in the summer, right? Players coming in and out and adapting to that change and finding something that works. But and we've got through that injury period. And yeah, well, let's see how the rest of the season goes. But yeah, pretty confident at the moment.
What's your take on the troubles going on at Anfield then, Matt? Because there's obviously been some key moments. I would say one started a long time ago, which was Liverpool not getting Zubimendi, and instead Gravenberch comes in and wins the league. But Zubimendi obviously could win the league this year. So I'd be interested to see your take on how he's getting on. But then just generally the Salah stuff, the signings that has happened, with Liverpool spending big this year for the first time in a long time. Isak's injury, like where do you see Liverpool at the moment?
So I think probably the first thing to say is, I guess if you step back, I think you'll coast into the top 4 this year.
Which is
honestly
mental, isn't it? Though that's just a mental thing.
And I don't think that's. I think you'll end up as probably like a standard 4th place team, reasonably, in terms of that. So you won the league last year. You finished in the Champions League's places, and then you set yourself up for next season.
Can I just ask though, is that because you foresee an improvement in performance from us, or just all the other teams are shit as well?
A bit of both.
Yeah, okay.
Reasonably. I think you'll probably get better than what you've been. But I do just Chelsea and Man U have both lost their managers in the last. I should say lost, like they've misplaced them. One of them's been sacked. One of them's kind of walked out because he's upset at having to play players he doesn't want to pick. Right. So I think, so it's a bit of both, right? So, but reasonably, I think you've got a good squad. Now, I think I'd probably say there are a fair few, I don't know, errors or oversights made in the transfer window. I don't go on. Yeah. I don't really understand spending so much money on Isak when you got Ekitike, or if you're going to go for Isak, don't spend the money on Ekitike. Arsenal and Liverpool, to some extent, only have a finite amount of money we can spend, and if you spend it somewhere, you can't spend it somewhere else. And not going for a defender earlier, or trying to wait out Mark Gahey until the end, added an unnecessary amount of risk, which I guess is easy to say in hindsight. But if you're getting Ekitike, you don't need to go and get Isak. It felt like a bit of a vanity signing, which is so kind of anti what Liverpool's transfer policy has been in the past. And what's actually worked for you really well is not going for the big expensive signings and going for more like a signing like Ekitike, which has worked. So yeah, you needed to get another striker in, obviously, because it was the unfortunate and tragic circumstances with Diego Jota, but you didn't need to spend 125 million on one. You could have got a defender, and you could have got a central midfielder or another winger in. I'd have said.
Yeah, that resonates with the view of the fan base as a whole, I would say. Certainly the central midfielder. Chris and I have said a number of times that despite all of the spending we've done, this still looks like we need more reinforcements. As though like it was a partial squad rebuild rather than a complete one. But do you this I'm trying to put myself in an Arsenal fan's shoes here. Obviously, we've been pretty good for a reasonable amount of time, successive years. I can't imagine there's been, in recent history at least, a less scary time to play us.
Not for a long time. No, there's always patches, right? Like when I think like 19. No, when was it? 2021 when you lost Van Dijk to injury? Was that 2021? Yeah, and you lost both centre backs, right? But I mean, but the difference, I think, I'd say going into this game is probably the most confident I've been going into an Arsenal-Liverpool game in a while, just because of where we are and kind of where you guys are. It kind of might come back to bite me, but yeah, it's like you guys have been good for a very long time, so I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it feels, from our perspective at least, I probably can speak for Chris without checking in, but it feels from our perspective, yeah, I'm the least confident going into this fixture that I've been in God knows how long.
I'm dreading the game. Completely dreading the game.
I mean, apart from the last few years, though, I guess you wouldn't have been too confident coming to the Emirates. Anfield's a different matter. Like, I always go, I'll go to Anfield, I'll take a draw, right? Arteta does the same, evidently. But like, you guys, you don't have a great record recently at the Emirates. I know you got a draw last year, but I think we beat you the 2 years before that, and both times pretty comprehensively on. I'd say.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair summary, mate. I think my probable pessimism around this fixture is more around damage control, rather than obviously I'd take a draw for sure. You do, even if we were playing well, take a point at the Emirates, but we're so poor at the moment, mate. Honestly, I know you watch a fair bit of us, but we're lifeless at the moment. So
who worries you, Matt, if anyone?
Say probably our weak point at the moment, I'd say, is Hincapié. Good player, but he's a little bit rash. He's still new to the Premier League, so him giving away a penalty, being out of position. Like if you look at, it's harsh, but you look at a couple of the goals we've conceded recently. Like you'd probably put it on him. Like I don't know, does he close Krupi down fast enough? What was against Bournemouth, against Brighton? Okay, we didn't actually concede because Raya pulls out a really good save, but Minter gets that shot off when we were 2-1 up. That's him not closing down there. So I think someone cutting in from the right. I mean, listen, I doubt he'd have played, but I was glad Egypt went through earlier, just in case that like 2% chance of Mo Salah coming back, and because that's the one area where I'd always be a bit concerned. There.
So yeah. not Florian Wirtz.
The thing is, if he plays on the left, right, and Jurrien Timber's been in outstanding form, I don't think I think Wirtz has turned it around from looking kind of just sort of a bit hopeless and weak at the start to like a good Premier League player, right? And he looks quite dangerous, and Szoboszlai is obviously a very good player as well. But I think in the right back area, we got Timber, and Saka always tracks back as well. And then you got Rice and Zubimendi will cover as well. So they could cause some. They could cause some damage, but it's not an area of the team that I would say, if I look at Arsenal, that's particularly weak.
What sort of goals? What sort of goals are you conceding this season? Because Liverpool fans could blueprint you the kind of goals we're conceding. Set pieces being the majorly obvious one. But
yeah, we're conceding to big bastards, basically. Haaland, obviously, but then you have the other goals. If I look at them, Dan Ballard, right, scored one and set one up. Tolu, the Wolves guy, gigantic human. Voltemada and Chalobah. That's 6 goals. That's half the goals we conceded in the Premier League so far this year. Then there are two other types of goals where we just sort of give the opposition the ball, which Gabriel did, or a mistake like the one at the end against Villa. or Wonder Strike, so Krupi, Szoboszlai. So that's sort of it. So, I'd say weirdly, like people, we're good at set pieces on an attacking perspective. Defending them sometimes not 100% actually. So either Van Dijk from a set piece, or Szoboszlai or Wirtz knocking one in from 35 yards. That's kind of the type of thing that we're conceding.
I don't see a lot of joy in any area of the pitch, to be honest. I think the only thing I would say is maybe this is the exact kind of game that we need, because even though when we played you in the first game, we'd won at the time, was it 4 in a row?
Arsenal was the third fixture, wasn't it?
Was it third? Okay.
Yeah, but we'd won the other two, yeah.
We were poor, though, in the games prior to that, and we played a lot better against Arsenal. So I do wonder that it's almost a bit of a free hit. It's the first time, and I think in a long time, that not many Liverpool fans will be expecting us to actually win. Even though our record isn't brilliant at the Emirates, I still think in prior seasons, most Liverpool fans would probably be thinking we're going to win this. So maybe it's a bit of a free hit, and it's the kind of game that we need where the boys will actually rise to the challenge. I know Virgil's come out and sort of issued a bit of a rallying call that we're going to try and make it hard work. But like, take that aside, I just find it difficult to think of any avenues of joy that we're going to get out of that Arsenal team in our current form.
Do you think you'll like, because of that, you think you'll sit back and hit us on the break?
But we've got no pace. How can we get you on the break when we've got Szoboszlai and Wirtz as our wingers?
Is Ekitike fit, or is he out, do you reckon?
They haven't said.
Okay.
So, I mean, if he's not fit, we're fucked, I think. Frimpong changes things a little bit if he's fit enough to play. But again, like, he's not dangerous. He's in goal, in the sense of goals. He's dangerous in the sense of he'll hit the byline and sort of get the cross in. But you're not going to be fearing him sort of getting what you just said, which is cutting in and bending one in. So yeah, Ekitike changes things, but he's so isolated at the moment. I think you're looking at what you're referring to, Matt, which is basically a wonder goal, which is, the only avenue I can really see is like Szoboszlai or Ekitike beating a couple of men and banging one in. But then you've got Zubimendi and Rice shielding, so it's the exact sort of game that I bet Wirtz is having nightmares about at the moment.
Good.
But it's yeah. I mean, it's almost like Arsenal are everything we're not in this moment. You're incredibly cohesive. You've got, I don't know who I heard talk about it the other day. It may even have been Arne Slot talking about how Arsenal have got something like 36 different build-up patterns, which I know we're getting down to granular nerd level detail, but we may as well talk on a granular nerd level. Chris and I have been saying all season that we've got like one build-up pattern, two build-up patterns. And as soon as teams started blocking Gravenberch, then Slot's run out of ideas. Whereas Arsenal, it's been the same cohesive unit of boys for quite some time now, hasn't it? With players added and fringe players leaving.
Yeah.
You're very cohesive, you're very structured. But the bit that frustrates us most as Liverpool fans is, my camera's just zoomed. Wow. The bit that frustrates us as Liverpool fans is how little bite we seem to have at the moment. And Arsenal are full of bite. Arsenal are full of physical boys who'll, put up a stiff physical challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's despite the fact we concede to, like, giant men at the moment. Our team's full of them itself. You got Saliba and Gabriel. Timber's not tall, but he is very physical. Zubimendi, surprisingly so as well. Like, you sort of, maybe I thought we were getting like a Xavi or something like that, but he's very, very physical. Every midfielder probably takes a little bit to adjust to the Premier League, but he's slotted in well at the moment, I'd say.
Right, I want your combined 11.
Are we doing form, or are we doing like what we said? Like, right, so for the game on Thursday.
No, because for the game on Thursday, it'd basically be an Arsenal 11.
I'd probably do an Arsenal 11 with Ekitike out front, I'd say. Like
Okay, so
basically,
take for at the start of the season, we'll do combined 11. So forget about current form. Just both squads at the start of the season. Alisson or Raya to start.
okay. So you want me to start from keeper, right?
Well, wherever you want, mate. But yeah.
Right at the start of the season, I think I'd have had Alisson. I think, I mean, it's still pretty close. Like, he's been the best keeper in the league for the last 5 years, right? I think Raya's maybe in better form this season, I think. Left back, yeah, I mean, I'm still taking Calafiori there. Centre backs, I mean, it depends if you're talking about how they act as a partnership, right? Because Van Dijk was good last season, but I can't look past the partnership of Gabriel and Saliba. I'm still taking Timber at right back. I'm still taking the Rice, Zubimendi, and Odegaard midfield.
No Szoboszlai.
Szoboszlai.
Well,
Arteta would love Szoboszlai.
He does. I think he does love Szoboszlai. Yeah. I think he might come in left wing. I mean, I don't know if he's any good there, but I think we'd find a way to squeeze him in the same way we
He
squeezed
played there a
Havertz
bit
in.
for Leipzig and banged in a few goals. He could do it. Boy can do anything.
Then, I mean, start of the season, I said Isaac. And start of the season, I guess I'm between Saka and Salah, and I'm not going to have an objective opinion there, am I? Considering how much I love the guy Saka.
So just to reconfirm, it's Alisson in goal, then the entire Arsenal back line in midfield.
Yeah.
Isak up top, Szoboszlai left, and come on.
I mean, listen. I guess I'd have to
there.
take salaries. That he probably deserved to win the Ballon d'Or last season, right? Like reasonably, you know. But right now, it's the Arsenal 11 with Ekitike up front.
So the fact that the interesting thing there is, as you were saying it, I was laughing, but genuinely, there's not a lot I wouldn't disagree with, which is weird considering we are the Premier League champions. Like if you look at the back four, there's no way you're having Kirkes over Calafiori. There's no way you're having Robertson or not Robertson. You're having Bradley or Frimpong over Timber. I think a lot of Liverpool fans would argue Van Dijk would be in there, but you're having Saliba or Gabriel as the other one. The midfield, Rice definitely gets in. Not many would probably. I think at the start of the season, a lot would argue Gravenberch over Zubimendi, but certainly not now in this current form. McAllister's getting nowhere near it now. So I don't disagree with most of what you said, which is ironic considering I thought at the start of the season we were the best team in the league.
It's at the start of the season, a lot of those would be a lot closer, though, right? Like you could make an argument for Van Dijk and Konate as a partnership, kind of like
you
based on what
absolutely couldn't anymore.
Not anymore. But yeah, no, I agree.
I know
End
what
of
you
last
mean.
Season. Yeah, and Kirkes was PFA left back in the team of the season, wasn't he? So you know.
Yeah. So yeah, I think at the start of the season it would have been a lot closer. Yeah.
Interesting.
Prediction for Thursday, Matt?
I think 3-1 Arsenal.
Chris?
How about you guys?
2-0 Arsenal.
I've gone 2-0 Arsenal as well in kick tip that we're all part of. Yeah, I just can't see how we score. I agree with you, Matt. I think if we're going to score, it's going to be a Virgil header from a corner. We're just not, honestly, we're not creating openings. It baffles me to look at our XG maps or XG race charts, whatever you call them. And you just look at it and you're like...
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, we just... It's hard to envisage the model of what a Liverpool goal is this season, like what we're even attempting. So yeah, I just can't picture how we're going to break Arsenal down because you are impressive. I think I've heard Arsenal described as one of the best off the ball teams in recent history. And when you watch them, I obviously failed hate watching against Bournemouth the other day, but yeah, you are impressive in terms of the structure of the whole team. I just don't see how we're scoring, but let's see.
It must be a bit like, I mean, I don't know if you'll like the comparison, but those kind of late 2010s Klopp teams, right? You had a very strong defense. You were very good at set pieces. You're very good at pressing, and you were good in transition. And if you watch that the Arsenal Bayern game that we played back in, was that November? I think November. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we Arsenal Bayern game, that looks exactly like a 2019 Klopp performance. We scored a set piece goal to open it up. We then scored a transition. We scored a goal where we pressed them, won it, cut it across the box, player at the back post, knocking it in. Then we scored a transition goal with Martinelli at the end. That looked incredibly similar to like a 2019 Klopp team.
Yeah. Fernandinho described us basically. Well, Fernandinho called us a long ball team at that time, but it fits, doesn't it? It's the intensity and you would back each player man for man to win the battles. And Arteta's obsessed with duels, isn't he? Obsessed with it. But yeah, I hear you've got a firework display lined up for us.
Yeah, we do. Hopefully, it's more like the one we had against Spurs than the one we had against PSG, which is that sort of pathetic cannon shower curtain thing. But yeah, I'll be there on Thursday, so maybe you'll see me underneath that shower curtain or whatever.
Very nice. There was us thinking it was a firework display for the reigning champions.
Or something like that, maybe. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right then, boys. We'll wrap it up. Matt, pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to see you guys.
Good man, Matt.
Soon.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye-bye.